All right. We are so excited to be joined today by Kooch Daniels. Kooch is the author most recently of Stars, Cards, and Stones, but that is her fourth title. Thank you so much for having the book handy. Through Red Feather. She's also the author of Tarot at the Crossroads, the Sacred Mysteries Chakra Oracle, and the Mystic Spirit Tarot Playbook. A plus for Vanna skills today, Kooch. You for having all giving on a hand. Somehow we hadn't
Never
discussed
know.
this, and I just anticipated that you would have those ready. So thank you for doing so. And I know you got books through several other publishers as well, but this isn't their channel, so we'll leave those to the camera view. Cooch, it's so good to see you. We've been trying to get our mutual crazy schedules lined up for months. We've both been busy traveling the world, spreading Esterica and joy wherever we go. Although we did have the pleasure of catching up extensively at StarCon in West Palm Beach in January, which was awesome. Um, so, Cooch, how have you been? How has your year been treating you so far?
Very busy and rushing to try to get things done. I'm so tired of rushing that the rest of the year I'm planning on having like a more balance in my life. So I'm not like hurry, hurry, I got to get that done. Hurry, hurry, I got to get that done. I'm tired of rushing because so far the beginning of the year has been very, very busy. And now I'm just like, no, I'm just going to start saying no and stop putting things on my calendar so I can kind of like, no, that's not true. But I'm going to try to be more balanced. That's my intention for the rest of the year.
That's a mood. And my inbox tends to light up, January through April tends to be really crazy where everyone is sort of just like, they're past the holidays and you're back at your desk and you're trying to get all your stuff organized and together. And then
Exactly.
usually all the proposals come in on January 1st. So everyone's like, New Year, new me, send the books in. And yeah, it is nice sometimes when the summer comes and usually the office work just seems to quiet down a little bit. So I hope the warmer months are bringing a little bit of a reprieve coming soon.
Well, I can little messages saying, remember what you said? It's time to find your swimming pool hole,
Yes.
dive deep, relax. Don't take books into the pool, but just relax. I'll remind you.
So bad for your books, by the way. So books in the
Oh,
pool, we don't recommend as a
yeah,
publisher.
they don't float.
Waterproof paper costs an arm and a leg. We're not quite there yet.
Ah,
Well, Cooch, it's so great to have a chance to catch up with you today. Everyone, Cooch asked for my exact birthday, time, and location before the show, so I am at her mercy and discretion for
well,
the course of the interview.
do you want to just jump right in?
Absolutely. Well, wait, where would you like to start?
Uh, your sun in Aries in the
Yeah, sure.
ninth house.
Look for
It,
it.
it makes you a philosopher. The ninth house is the philosopher or higher education or higher purpose. And because the sun represents what's illuminates your being, your consciousness, your sense of self. So you have sun in Aries, which makes you more of a leader. And then if we do the work of what my book is about, it creates correlations between the planets and the tarot cards and the runestones. And so the sun is connected with the emperor, which is the leader. And here you are sitting here leading all of us to try to be brighter, uh, more in touch with how to create positive energy to put out into the world. So your sun in Aries, which is also the card corresponds with the emperor, which is power. And he sits there ruling the material world and trying to keep things helping other people because emperors have to keep their kingdom in order.
Hmm.
So emperors have a lot of responsibility, and ninth house is responsibility for bringing in higher wisdom, higher education, moving with philosophical insights and bringing them down. So, and then if we look at the runes, that's Tyr, who was the god of war, meaning you're really like, you got the, like, I can do this, I can charge forward and bring things together. So even though we're talking about your sun being in Aries, I'm trying to show that how it plays out if you're looking at my book, because it corresponds with, I take the planets and the correlation with the tarot card, which is the sun, and then also with the runes, which is Tyr, and it's the archetype for the leader that weaves all of these energies together. And so I just feel like you're a power person, and your sun in Aries, that's what it's about. But it's not just power to be powerful or aggressive, because it sits in the ninth house, which is spirituality and higher understanding, meaning you're going to like be charged to like bring about higher consciousness.
Woohoo. That sounds great to me.
Your sun, and and how it, if I'm looking at somebody's chart and trying to do tarot card overlay or runestone overlay, I bring in these elements and try to look at how do they all line up, because it really creates a beautiful pattern to help people see the images. I mean, with tarot cards, it's the images, and you have this beautiful visual instead of just little astrological symbols, which are very powerful. And I'm not ignoring them or saying they're not important, because that's what brings the message in. But to have like the images is supreme. And if I was looking at Mary L's tarot and trying to get the sun, I gotta put a plug in for Mary.
Great deck.
I love
Everyone
this
loves
deck.
the deck. It's beautiful.
It, her images are so archetypal. And I was working with her before she even had the deck out. So I was one of the lucky people that had her first deck and her handwritten notes that she was passing around to help people understand what she was doing. But so if we were looking at the Emperor through the tarot, this would be the card that corresponds with your sun. Mm-hmm. So if you get like all the planets lined up, the 9 planets, and you put them in the houses of on your zodiac wheel, you have this beautiful diagram that is so powerful when you're trying to do readings, or if you're trying to understand yourself better, because you have these powerful images. Mm-hmm. And then if you're into runes and the power that's within the runes, because whenever I think runes, I instantly want to just like put on my like bear skin and get out there and there's like a power and an empowerment when you're using runes. And I just feel like when people connect with that energy, it's another whole wave of connecting with ancient symbols that make us feel empowered to be more, I mean, just like Tyr connected with Aries and the leadership. It's like when you get into the myth behind that and the gods of the ancient world, it's just so powerful. So I just like weaving the magic with these different symbols, and I just feel so blessed. Want to tell people like this came out of like 40 years of weaving together and working my entire life as a reader and reading so many people, and then like putting all of these symbols and seeing how they line up. If people wanted a runestone reading or if they wanted a tarot reading, and then you're seeing how, oh my gosh, they're almost saying the same thing, but in a different symbolic language. So this came out of many, 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 many years of looking at the patterns and getting more understanding of archetypes that I'd practiced, that I'd learned about in school many moons ago, and seeing how they all line up. So this is like my life work really is in this book. Even though I've written all these other books, this is like my life work is in this one. And anything you do for your life, hopefully you have some inkling, some little grasp of what does this mean. And at this point in my life, it's just like, why did I start writing? it wasn't because like, oh, I want to write. It's because let me give back what I've learned so that it can be of benefit to others. Because here I am sitting here gathering a lifetime of experience. And the tarot, when I started tarot, was not a big deal. I mean, and now it's such a big deal. When I was doing it, I was being chased out of shopping centers because I was working for the devil, and
Right.
people would call the police, right? And now it's kind of like, come on, we need more of you, and we want, do you have 5 other tarot readers that can work with you or whatever? So I mean, like the consciousness has shifted into being so more receptive. So the seeds that I was planting way back then, I'm seeing them blossom now,
Yeah.
and also trying to just really look at how do I help other people with all of my hard knocks experience. So here I am talking to you and looking at your sun. So the next thing we want, when I look at an astrology chart, the most important thing, and what people carry around in the Western culture, is they need to know their sun sign, of course, because you look up the horoscope in your weekly newspaper. It's like, what's my sign say? But the most important thing for Vedic astrologers and for people just in doing readings, the most important thing is the moon.
Mm.
Got your chart here somewhere. Okay. Your moon crystal is in the 11th house, which is community,
Mm.
and how you take all your wisdom and everything that you've been learning and how you share it with the community. So here's the moon. And what is the moon? The moon's like the high priestess. So you have the role of the high priestess in relation to the moon being not only your intuition, your feminine nature, the subconscious, the memories that you hold, your feelings. It's your feeling nature. And that's why the moon is so important. So when we're looking at a chart, we look at where's your sun sign, where's your moon sign, because these are the most important things that people like who aren't heavily into astrology, they carry around with them and go, my moon sign is. So if you know what your moon sign is, it's more like a connection of your, who are you inwardly?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And so sun is external, who here I am, but the moon is how do I feel and what's inside of me. So your moon being high priestess, you know what the high priestess is all about, right?
I do. Some viewers may not, but I do, sure.
Channel
You
that
know, kind of my jam, in
crystal.
case you didn't notice.
Top
Shaman
over her
statues into
head.
top
She
row.
already knows she's channeling the high priestess and bringing her in. And, because you are helping people with their writing and looking at proposals, this is a hint. The more you can connect with Crystal, the high priestess, the better your chances are for making a connection, because this woman has moon in what did I what I'm not too spaced out. What did I say your moon is?
Gemini,
Where?
11th house.
It's in the 11th house, community, and it's high priestess. And Ethel
Oh.
in the runes. And Ethel is more like it's, of course it's an emotional, because they all have the archetype of the feminine nature or the mystical undertones.
Mm.
So that's how you weave the story. I weave the stories together, and how people can put all these symbols in one pile and make them all talk to one another is through their underlying archetype, which is the archetype of the high priestess, feminine power, feminine empowerment. So you got like this really high charged sun moon energy. And then we always, what does an astrologer look for? What's your rising sign? Most people want to know, what's my rising sign? They'll forget about all the other planets and all the other houses. But the rising sign is where the sun comes up in the mornings. The sun is rising and it sits on the horizon, which is the middle line going across a person's horoscope represents that horizon. So the sun is coming up in the first house and it's sitting in the 7th house, which is its polar opposite. So you have an ascendant over here and a descendant over here, but your rising sign, let me find it. It is Leo. And the card that corresponds with the system that I use, which is the Golden Dawn's correlations from the They're a mystical fraternity order, which I'm blanking right now. Anyway, it's been around for centuries, so it's not something I made up. But Leo corresponds with the card strength, and the strength is the goddess of, well, she has a lot of different names, but I always think of her as Durga because I'm into Hinduism for one thing. But she also has the lion. She's always throughout all different cultures. There's this beautiful goddess, and she's got this lion, and they're kind of like hanging out together. And it's her ability to like conquer fear
Mm.
and to hold power in a with a gentle soul. So having strength or have as your ascendant card and looking at that as the doorway to becoming, because the rising sign is how people see you and impressions that you make. And like if people are checking you out, so they're like, wow, she's strong, she's a very strong woman. So you have that powerful nature. And even like looking at you right now, I mean, think of the lion and look at what you're wearing. It's kind of like you look like
Told
a
I'm
lion.
lion-like, yes.
You have lion energy right now. I'm looking at
Mm.
you. It's like, whoa, this could be her mane, that beautiful sweater that you're wearing, and the color and your hair, everything. You look like the lion. And the ascendant is how you look. And I'm like, right now, this very moment in time and space, take a little snapshot. You're embodying the
Leo
colors,
energy.
the hair, your hair, and your mane. It's very lioness.
I've been on a Sekhmet kick for a couple of weeks now, at least. So, I think some of that's probably coming through as well. The Kooch, this has it's been such a great analysis. I think like that's such a great snapshot of the kind of correspondence and symbolism that people can find in stars, cards, and stones. I love how it kind of instead of like introducing the book formally, we just kind of dived right in at the kind of insights they're going to find. No, it was great actually because sometimes you just learn the best by kind of hearing it or seeing it firsthand and be like, oh, that's what this is about. I'm going to back up for just half a second. So Stars, Cards, and Stones is about three separate divination systems and also kind of their correspondence and their similarities in terms of different techniques that you can use and so forth, right? So, of course, we've got astrology, you've got tarot, and you've got the runes. So, talk to us a little bit about the correspondence there because, of course, a lot of viewers will be familiar with astrology and tarot corresponding, but runes is maybe a little bit more of a jump for some people. So, how did you kind of put these things together, and kind of what can you tell us about some of those overlays?
I through experience, and that's why I say this whole book, it's my life work because I would work with runes and the tarot cards, and sometimes I'd be doing runes on top of tarot cards because it's really pretty to look at, but
Mm.
also because it's really groovy. And I'm trying to like see how I can connect with people. So it came through experience that I would see how the rune stones and the tarot cards, they would kind of wind up saying the same thing.
Mm.
And what we're looking at is universal symbolism. Universal symbolism is universal because it's in everyone's consciousness. And archetypes are symbols that we can all relate to. They're universal symbols because, like, a symbol of the high priestess, the shaman, or well, let's do the empress. The empress is the mother. You have so many planets in your fourth house, which is the mother, by the way, the
Mm.
house of the mother and the second half of life. So your fourth house is very loaded with mother energy. So I'm going to look at the mother. So this is a universal symbol because if I'm talking to a person in Africa and I say the word mother and we get that message across, even though she doesn't understand my language and I'm living in a different country, we both can totally relate mother
Mhm.
because everybody has a mother or a father. So the cards are joined through the archetypes, which are the universal symbols that anyone in any time, if it's like if we go back to throwing runes over uh, the Chalice Well in England in 1090 AD, we might be being chased out actually by the Protestants, but for yeah, because all of these mystical things have always been like right on the line between being accepted and really people being totally encaptured by them, with other people trying to beat them down, going, you need to practice this religion and get rid of the old ways. So, but we were talking about archetypes. I get carried away. I'm sorry. So, if we look at the mother, you need to really focus on you being the mother because you have 3 planets in the 4th house. So you have a lot of like growth that's going to come through the mother. So even if we were speaking, well, we are. You're in Pennsylvania and I'm in California. But you can relate that I've got mother issues. And if I start talking about my mother, you'll totally understand because you're going, oh my gosh, my own child. I'm not going to make sure that I don't screw up my kid like that, or, whatever it is. So the symbolism, my work came through understanding that I don't care if I've never met a person. I only have 2 minutes to talk, to introduce myself to a person. But if I start talking about their mother, we connect because of the universality and that I have so much mother stuff in me, and that person is talking about so much stuff that's going on with their mother. So there is a similarity of vibrational, it's kind of like reflection. And so all of this book has come about through understanding universal symbols that we can all relate to. Symbols are the things that, they appear in our dreams. People understand dreams. What are dreams? They're like pictures. A lot of people love tarot cards and talk about their dreams in relation to tarot cards because they're symbols. Mm. So it's all about universal symbols. And when they're universal, they can show up in Scotland in the year 900 AD, or they can show up in Pennsylvania in your computer in 2025, and you'll get the same symbol. And we have different cultural tones, but the symbol is implanted eternally. And so I'm trying to like see how they all just kind of flow. It's kind of like a symbolic flow of how they intermingle. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it did. It's fun listening to you chat about this. Kooch, what do you have any favorite sections or any aspects of the book that you really love, especially?
Oh, wow. I did save one little, I looked for one short paragraph that I'd like to read because it kind of shows something that I feel and how I perceive people when they're going to be looking at this. But of course, I need my glasses. Yeah. Readers aren't always in their logical, organized space. And I'm definitely, where's my glasses? Here they are. I just want to read this to people because it kind of gives just a little understanding of how I try to invite people to come and work, and or how I see them when they get to the page that I'm going to just read this one little paragraph. It's called Newsworthy Notes, and it's to walk the path of a seer requires passion, a willingness to hear the flutter of angel wings, and a mind filled with the courage to walk through both visible and invisible corridors to balance the known with the unknown. Since you've arrived at this gateway, you must possess some of these qualities, or maybe all. Mm. Because doing work that calls out the high priestess, or calls out that you're trying to bring subconscious to consciousness and dive into things that are invisible, or to feel auras or read frequencies, or maybe you're clairvoyant or clairaudient, or however you're pulling in information. It's not logical. And that's where you got to really call on your angels so that you're seeing clarity so that you're going to make sense to the person who's sitting in front of you.
Mm.
Because we can all like tune into things, but if we're not clear with the person sitting in front of us and it doesn't make sense, then your reading is not going to have weight, or you're not going to have some kind of shared common ground. So this book is, it brings, I always call in, I don't, my guides, my muses, and I've never in my life worked when I haven't needed an angel or called on angels to help me.
Mm.
I might not call them angels, but my little friends on the other side, I definitely get messages, and I just feel like, if I'm going to say anything about this, it's like you gotta give yourself permission to walk from the left brain to the right brain, from the right brain to the left brain.
Mm.
And I had a teacher who I worked with for a long time before I passed to the other side, and he would always say, the only way that you're going to succeed either on a spiritual path or with the work that you're doing is if you use your right brain, which is the intuitive, and your left brain, and you have them meeting in the middle.
Mm.
And he suggested when you meditate, because the middle is where your third eye is that you look into the third eye and you try to like feel your left brain and your right brain, how they're connected. And that's where you can find God and find a way to really connect with all of this stuff, because you're balancing conscious and subconscious.
I think that's such a great correspondence to like the whole idea of divination, right? Where you're learning these systems and symbols that are very mathematical in a way, many times, and
Yeah.
regimented in some ways in one interpretation, right? And then learning to meld that with your intuition and like find the in between. That also reminds me of like my original background as a musician, and part of what I loved about music was it was kind of that mashing of the mathematical side and the emotional side together. Always seemed like an important balance with how to approach things.
I think balance is a very key word for sure.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell me who do you feel that this book is best for?
Oh, it's it can be for beginners or intermediates. Advanced readers, they already have most of what they need. When
Go back
you
to your
get to the
academic
advanced
books.
place, you're not necessarily picking up other people's books to try to figure things out.
Yeah, yeah,
So
fair enough.
I would I offer people a foundation of astrology, because when you have that foundation, then you can move with understanding of the sun signs and the planets, and then you can relate to those same images because they always show up in tarot cards. I don't, maybe not all the modern decks, some of the artists don't include astrological symbols, but the traditional older decks they always had. Or even if you go and you look at like the decks historically that were from Italy in the mid, like how many centuries ago, they have astrology symbols on them.
Mhm.
So the tarot and astrology is historically woven together. And then to move it into the runes, because the runes, there's many books written with runes and astrology. There's a lot of people that feel the beat of that runestone drum, because the heartbeat, like that you got to move with the beat of the heart. And once you tune into the beat, then it's like, oh, you can use that in dancing to the
Mhm.
runic music that's out there, which is really heavy, beautiful drumming. Oh, very powerful. If you're ever falling asleep, turn on runic music, because you'll like you'll like really get up. You won't be tired anymore. But what was your question, Crystal? Because I'm spacing out.
Who the book is for, beginner, intermediate, advanced, special
Okay,
interest
sorry,
areas.
people. I didn't sleep much last night. It's the full moon. I don't sleep much on the full moon. I think I went to bed at 4, and then my a friend woke me up like at 8, which was good. I needed to get up, but telling you more than you want to know right now. You can erase that ever.
Edit, edit.
But so it's if you're trying to learn astrology, it walks you through step by step what you need to create a really strong foundation to understand how to start reading charts. And if you want to learn the tarot or you just want to learn the runes, you can learn each one of those systems individually apart from the others, or you can learn them and see how they connect and correspond and how you can work with both or all of those systems together.
Hmm. Yeah,
Monsanto is really good for beginners, good for intermediates because it'll give you a little push, and maybe if if advanced readers are open to like, let's see what's in here, it definitely will give food for thought.
for sure. Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is a book that I wish that I'd had when I was, just starting out the first like 5 years of my practice, probably when you're just like learning and trying all of the things, right? And you're sitting down, you're trying to learn what Mars means for the first time and put all of these things together. Provides a really great, just no nonsense, easy to read explanation of the three systems, for diving into those things individually or then for understanding the correspondence between them and just similarities in divination techniques as well. So it's really great for someone who's just starting out, wants to explore all the things. But it's also a really nice go-to for an intermediate student who just doesn't have all of their, correspondence memorized, or maybe you know your tarot and your astrology, but you don't have your runes quite down yet. This would be a really nice way to learn that new system by building on a foundation of knowledge that you've already got.
Very nicely said.
So just to quickly recap, exactly what's in the book, right? So you'll look forward to reading about sun signs and their qualities. You have tons of great correspondence charts here that's kind of put everything together. And I love me a good chart. It must be my Excel background. Intros to the houses is a great explanation there, right? All of the aspects, history and meaning of the runes, the astrological correspondence for the runes, which was not something I was familiar with. So that was really interesting to see. I really love the template that you put together where the reader gets to like fill in the blanks, drawing parallels between like the symbolisms of all three divination systems. And then from there, it's on to the meanings of the planets, the tarot, and sort of like general approaches to divination, different spread and casting techniques. And then I love you have some really fun like mashup spreads as well, like the 4 card spread that's based on the houses, for instance. And I saw some like rune combo spreads in there as well. So this is just like an incredibly handy cheat sheet for like so much of the core correspondences that you just need to know as you're starting to get into the magical arts that this is really great because it's just kind of a one-stop shop. Fair summary, Kooch?
Oh, I'm impressed.
Awesome.
Oh, you said that so well. I should write that all down.
I read the book, I promise. Twice, in fact. So, Coach, I am curious about your background. So you've got a background in Jungian psych, and I'm always really intrigued with, folks that have, a psych background and have kind of the magical background as well. Certainly, there's been a lot of buzz the last couple of years about the psychological aspects of tarot, and plenty of people who are kind of approaching the tarot more so from a psychological aspect, perhaps, than from sort of a mystical aspect. So I'm curious, you've been in the field of divination for a lifetime at this point. Are you of the mindset that, you can predict the future with your readings? Are we just kind of reading human behavior, right? And being able to logically guess what's going to come next based on, if a few things that are coming up? Or do you think that these things sort of make the jump to that truly predictive level?
This is an interesting point, and people have different styles and different, you'll get different answers for that question. I was just told by somebody they wanted a predictive astrology chart, and I'm like, oh, that's not really my thing because I look at relationships and try to understand people and give people potentials, but I never like, I'm not a factual, this is what's going to happen to you. So I don't myself like to do predictive readings, but then sometimes I'll wind up being a medium by accident because I don't advertise myself as a medium. And then I'll get information coming that's totally being channeled, or like somebody's grandfather will be standing behind me telling them what they have to look out for in relation to the future. And it's like my mode is that if I don't communicate what I'm privileged and gifted at receiving, then there's going to be a block of energy. So I do sometimes, but I'm very cautious. I do have insurance so
Mm.
that if I put my foot in somebody else's mouth, I'm covered, because it's a very, if you, especially, we're not allowed to talk about medical things legally. We're not allowed to talk about financial outcomes legally. We're not allowed to give advice on finances legally. So, and these are the things that people are most interested in.
Of course.
My
Right.
money, am I going to win the lottery, whatever it is. So it is uh, a little uh, predictions. Some people are totally into predictions, and you can even go online and get readings that are written down that are like predictive readings. So some people do predictive readings. That's not my norm, because I kind of leave the future up to a person's own choices instead of me getting in there. Because also in my experience doing readings, people have come to me and they're like totally brokenhearted because somebody tells them their marriage is only going to last for 6 years. And, it gets stuck in their head. And then they're like really freaking out on the fourth year. Is this really going to happen? And I wind up putting band aids on other people's psychic predictions. Or one of
Mm.
the worst ones ever was, I was doing a grad night for high school, and this beautiful young man comes up and he goes, another reader told me that I'm never going to find love and I'm never going to be married. I'm like, okay, this is an example of a predictive reading. And this is
Right.
why I try to like not get there with people. And he was like having an emotional breakdown because some other reader had told him he was never going to find love in his life. And he wanted to know if that was true. Okay, get out the Band-Aid box, put another Band-Aid on somebody's bad predictive input that really hurt this young man who's just becoming he's not even an adult, and somebody's like ruined his life in relation to how he perceives his future. I'm
Yeah.
like, please, I don't want to hurt people's chances for their hope for the future or how they see themselves evolving. So I'm very good. I wouldn't be getting customers and being called if I didn't, at least, I don't want to say I'm good, but at least I have something that people call me back for, and I keep getting jobs for like how many years at this point. So
So
I
good.
have something to offer, but I try to be really cautious about offering, this is what's going to happen, because, you know, who's in charge here? It's not my words. And people have free will, and there's universal guidance coming from the other side. I know this to be true without a shadow of a doubt, because I've heard it, I've seen it, I've felt it, I've had to channel it. So it's like there's so many different things moving into what might happen. Who am I to say with 100% factual, this is what's going to happen? So yeah, I do talk about the future, but I never like, this is what's going to happen, because that's not my mode.
Yeah, I mean that's a responsible response, I think. And one of the reasons why I personally never pursued reading professionally, even though I've practiced reading for a long time, was just it seemed to me like a lot of responsibility, and it wasn't something that I felt like I wanted to undertake in that context. So power to all of you that are out there doing it responsibly. We appreciate you.
Well, it's something called, it's like, I don't want to create bad karma by
Right.
ruining somebody else's life because I have a bad mouth about some expectation. So I try to, that balancing point where, yes, we can talk about the future, but don't let me ruin your future. And please don't like hold on to something and say that I've predicted what's going to happen to you, because I'm not going to do that. That's my mode.
Yeah, that's a game of likelihoods, right? I mean, that's the most common kind of response that I hear. There are likely trends that may occur, and nothing is set in stone. So, fair reply. Kooch, just one last question before we sign off here. What are knowing that this title is especially great for beginners, right? Is laying a really good foundation of magical correspondence that practically everyone can make great use of. What parting advice do you have for those beginner to intermediate readers who are kind of a little bit newer to their magical path and just starting to find their way with these things?
Have fun.
I love it.
Because if you can, like, you know making beautiful pictures on top of somebody's natal chart,
Mm.
it's really beautiful, and it's artistic. And then if you throw runes on top of that, it's like another level of incredible symbolic magic. And you can go a long way with it, but have fun with it so that you're not, oh, I've got to learn this stuff. Because if you're like, oh no, I've got another like 10 pages to read, that's not going to work. But if you're having fun with it and you're seeing how the magic is making you enjoy this incredible universal play that's like an
Mm.
eternal gift from, I mean, just like Odin supposedly hung upside down on the world tree for 9 days. Nine, the very magical number for the rune people.
Mm.
And then he was gifted by the gods with these runes that just appeared before him on the ground. It's like there's so much magic. And when you can play with the magic and start seeing how it's like there's like so much synchronicity, and all of a sudden somebody's going to be talking to you about Odin, and you're going to go, oh yeah, he hung up upside down on that tree. I got the runes. I mean, there's like the synchronicity starts happening more and more the more that you play with universal symbols.
Mhm.
And I think that's also how we can connect and channel, because we're using an invisible language, a silent language, and we're trying to connect with understanding another being that's not conscious and it's not logical. And these tools are fantastic to do that, but you have to have a really good attitude and enjoy it. If you can have fun with it, the magic will be there for you.
Magic is much too important to be taken seriously. It's a great quote I've heard before and one to live by, I think.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
bravo. Kooch, if people want to find out more about what you're up to, your next projects, where can they find more information?
My website is www.mysticsecrets.net. And I'm on Facebook under Kooch Daniels, and I have um, it's also my professional site is Mystic Secrets. So you can either find me on Facebook under Kooch Daniels or go to Mystic Secrets and look for Kooch Daniels and or my website. And my website has all of your books on it, Crystal. All of
More
Red
books.
Feathers. So blessed by Red Feather. Thank you.
Sure thing. Cooch, we love having you in our catalog. Stars, Cards, and Stones off to a great start. We've been getting such wonderful feedback. So viewers, do check this out if this sounds like this book might be great for you or for someone you know who is getting started with their magical correspondence and divination. And Cooch, we'll look forward to hopefully having you on again and seeing what's coming next.
Just hopefully
Things, all good things,
only good thing. Oh, only good. See,
only
only
good
good.
things.
Let
We
only
take
good be in your
we
life.
take the bad
Especially
cards
right
out of the
now,
deck.
you want to keep thinking it's all good. My life is good. Make that your affirmation. My life is good. Yes.
Keep manifesting, everybody. Cooch, thank you. Take care.